Okay, just thought I'd take a second to record my thoughts on Avengers: Age of Ultron. And, okay, first, I guess, really quick, my thoughts on the first one. I think it's fantastic, like a lot of people do, and I mean, even at the time when it came out, like, a lot of people felt the need to kind of distance themselves from it. I kind of noticed, like, even though it was sort of the big event, the great movie that lived up to all of the hype, so everybody reviewing it sort of felt the need to establish, like, well, but it's not my favorite Marvel movie. I mean, it's just the action-heavy chapter. It's just all about fighting and explosions. I mean, it's for the fanboys. I mean, it's not my favorite. I can still see that Iron Man or whatever has deeper themes, and, yeah, that was kind of funny. Like, that was the movie that did it, the one that made people feel the need to distance themselves from the fanboys. It was like, yeah, you bring all the superheroes together in a crossover. It's like they maybe kind of realize that, yeah, Marvel is making collectors out of the casual film goer now, just like, because, yeah, now you can, if you want, pick which franchise or which segment of the Marvel Cinematic Universe franchise you're into, or all of them if you want, and, you know, they all come together in one movie. So, yeah, very clever marketing on Marvel's part, but, okay, yeah, just kind of, like, even the people, even for as much praise as it got, people were trying to rein it in, saying that, yeah, it's, well, no, it's still, the action is still the main focus, so you still can only give it so much credit. It's, unless you're a fanboy or a nerd, and while I am a nerd, this is a tiny portion of my collection, so carefully arranged to look like I totally didn't put them up here on purpose for a set, but, anyway, yeah. But that aside, while I am a nerd, my own philosophy on this kind of thing as a critic is that any subject matter can be done well, and, like, Gene Siskel kind of used to like to say something like that, and, yeah, okay, I think that, in theory, anything can be great. Any story, whatever it's about, whether action or, thematics or whatever is the focus, yeah, or character, visuals, art house, but just, it can all be done poorly and it can all be done great. And the first Avengers movie, I think, did it great. I think it is, it continued the story, perfectly in line with all of the others, except for, I mean, there is sort of a jump, I guess, from where Loki ends up at the end of Thor to the beginning of the Avengers, but that aside, everyone is kept right in character. They're all utilized very well, playing off each other, getting us behind them, getting us interested in what's going through their minds in each moment, and yeah, and its main focus is the visceral aspect, the action and that kind of stuff. That's the highlight. That's the, well, of the many reasons to go see it, that's the biggest one. But yeah, it's the action-heavy chapter, but it's also the best executed chapter. It's, yeah, I mean, I've never had a visceral experience quite like I had at the Avengers, and still haven't. I mean, I've had different experiences that I like just as much, but no, Avengers, my favorite Marvel movie, easily my top 5 favorite comic book movies, probably even top 3, I'd have to watch it again, so okay. Very few bad things to say about the Avengers, and this one now is getting reviews that aren't as good, that they're saying that, okay, well, it doesn't focus on the characters quite enough, or it's too bloated, there's too much in it, and I agree, it is not as good as the first one as far as I'm concerned, but okay, I think, like, how I would put it, my spin on it, is that it's rushed, and okay, and I'm gonna put it in the description, by the way, I'm gonna try to put a key of each individual part, just if you want to skip to this point to hear about this or this, because, yeah, this is probably going to go on as these things tend to, these unfiltered thoughts, but, alright, anyway, yeah, I think that, this one is rushed, is the problem, like, I think that, well, in theory you could say it has to be rushed because it's so, overbloated, but, okay, in theory, if you added just even more to this movie, a longer runtime, I think everything in it could have been filled out just fine. It all could have fit, so, yeah, except for the fact that I would be there all night watching it, I wouldn't have any problem with keeping all of the strands and stuff in it and just expanding on them more, but as is, it is hard to enjoy it as much because it is very, very rushed, and as in everything about it, including the action, which, okay, well, I won't debate like whether it's more or less of a focus this time, but you could make the argument either way, I guess. But yeah, just where the last movie it was very, I mean, it knew how to make these battles complex and interesting. It was very creative in everything that it did, but it also made everything very deliberate. You could see exactly what was going on. You had a chance to sort of take it in and be wowed by it, to get behind the moves that everyone was making. And yeah, whereas in this one, it's more like Fast and Furious, just like cut, 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 trying to just shove it in your face so fast that, yeah, just give you I guess some sense of like raw fury. But okay, with Fast and Furious, that kind of works because they're in a race, or yeah, trying to drive really fast or do something with these machines that just are moving down a road really fast while they're trying to do all of these complex things. So okay, you would think that there'd be a lot happening at once. I mean, that's more the kind of action scene where you would get that effect, whereas superheroes fighting, it's like, I mean, no, you can tell me it's happening, show me it's happening fast, quickly, grammar Nazi, that's me, but in other ways, because, well, I mean, ironically, slow motion is used to show how fast things are happening at points, but, okay, you get it, but, yeah, I mean, I want to see what everyone's attempting to do and how they pull it off. You know, I want to take it in, like I said. I want to be wowed by it. That's what the first movie did so well. That's what, for example, that's why I think that the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies still have better action than the new ones, despite being older and, yeah, despite technology advancing, because, yeah, they were very deliberate. There are so many highlight moments in that one. I mean, take your pick of Spider-Man trying to hopscotch the pumpkin bombs and pumpkin blades from the Green Goblin, or how he's, yeah, having to fit himself through all these narrow openings in that train fight, which is the series highlight with Dr. Octopus, and just, yeah, how he's, yeah, surfing on doors and everything like that. Even when it gets silly, it's just very creative in how to use the powers. And the new ones, they look more like a scramble. I mean, they're a scramble that give you a sense of who has what power, or like how these powers work. Like, yeah, Spider-Man against the Lizard. I will admit I still have to see Amazing Spider-Man 2 if I ever will. But yeah, Spider-Man against the Lizard. It's like they're just scrambling all over the place, just throwing things at each other. And I mean, it's like I said, it's like a scramble. You get the sense that the Lizard is stronger and Spider-Man is faster, but eventually it all just kind of blurs together. And okay, so yeah, that's more of this movie. It's all you can do to keep up with who's quote-unquote winning. There's not a sense to get behind the complexity of the battle itself. So, alright, and the story with the characters and what's going on with them is also very rushed. It feels like, well, I mean, they try to get it in there. I mean, some critics have said that the highlight of this movie is still, for all the action, the character moments, because they do still take the time to get them in there. That's why I wouldn't say that the problem is not a lack of character, but alright, just, yeah, it's again very rushed. I mean, it's not like we're yeah, again, taking in these scenes and having like them fully flesh out it's not like these scenes unfold in a way that leave us with some very specific ideas, thoughts about the characters. So then when we come back to them, again, it's like we feel like we're picking up right where we left off. It's just like, well, again, I mean, it's just all mixed in so, like, just so quickly. I mean, it feels every time we cut back to something we saw before, it feels like somebody's just grabbing the spot, like, okay, now how about this again? And, I don't, like, okay, for example, you take Black Widow in both of these movies. In the first Avengers, after I started out not liking her in Iron Man 2, after I thought she was just there for that age-old gag about the the little woman you wouldn't think of as very tough, surprising everybody by beating them up, and like that was somehow supposed to be funny because Happy Hogan couldn't do that, and meanwhile, if he could do that, why the hell would he waste his time being Tony's bodyguard of all things? Like, okay, so yeah, well, I thought she was kind of just there for that typical gag, and like you could have cut her out and lost nothing. In the Avengers, they sort of added another dimension. Like even when they reused that gag, they sort of added another dimension to it. That you sort of saw Black Widow's perspective on it, how it's how she's not like, I don't know, smug about it or anything. I mean, a little bit when she has good reason to be, but otherwise it's very business as usual, and you even get the sense that like any good actor, she has to sort of reach into a place of real emotion to give off the effect that she's helpless, because like when she's not trying to fool anybody, you know, sometimes she still seems to have those emotions where that she's maybe bothered by something, or yeah, like she can be her, and I mean she's still awesome because she, even when she's like hurt or scared, she knows exactly how to get up and keep kicking ass, keep doing business as usual. So like with the Hulk on a rampage or whatever, that yeah, you see she deals with them as best as anyone could in the moment, but then afterwards she's like scarred by what she's seen. So okay, that was all very interesting. It's just like how she, and she's actually a lot more impressive for that, because instead of just the movie telling us she's that cool, it's that we actually get to see what someone who is that cool and that capable would be like. So and it all unfolded, and again we got to see the transition from it. Well, I mean we saw it more than once even, so it's like, okay, they get to show us this side to her a couple of times, like how it sort of starting off from what we last saw of her, and then taking it to somewhere it didn't go in the last scene, like that kind of thing. Whereas, okay, in this movie, where she and Bruce Banner start a romance, or a potential romance, it's, I mean, it shows up in one scene, and then we cut back to it later down the line, and I mean, it's just like, I don't know, like both times it's almost like a new idea each time they're talking. I mean, the two scenes have in common that Black Widow and Bruce Banner want to get together, but yeah, it's just like, one say, hey, here's why we can, here's maybe why we can't, and then another, later down the line when they're talking like about it. Well, okay, trying to avoid spoilers here, but okay, yeah, here's a new reason why we want to, and maybe why we can't, and that scene, actually, the second one, there's a point where Black Widow tries to convince Bruce Banner that she kind of feels his pain, that she thinks she's been made into a monster just as much as he has, and it's actually a very, like, the reason she has for it is kind of a surprising moment. It makes you feel for, I mean, it's sort of a touching bit, but it's only touching for the idea of it. It's not, I mean, the performances are fine, but okay, they don't really, I mean, it feels just like it, again, everything's going by so fast, you don't really have the chance to get into the performances, or the delivery, the emotional wavelength the characters are on. Only the idea of it is really why it hits you at all. So whereas, like I said, in the first one, you got to see how Scarlett Johansson pulled out all of these different emotions, and you got to see just maybe the place she was at different times. So okay, yeah, they're doing even bigger things with her in this movie, but I didn't get behind it as much, and I think that should say something. But alright, so yeah, so it does a lot wrong. There's also a lot that it does not do wrong. Like, okay, I do have to give it credit for a few different things, like, well, okay, I'll get to what's great about it in a minute, but, because it is a good movie, don't get me wrong, but, alright, the problems with it, well, the problems it avoids, I mean, first of all, the previews made it look like that it was going to be just the very typical, what the saving the world can also mean destroying it. Or yeah, you humans are yeah, this robot Ultron who's designed to save the world. It's like, okay, there will never be peace until humans are extinct because they are a violent, greedy race and that kind of thing. But okay, they don't go that route, which I was very glad to see. Is that actually what they connected to is evolution. Ultron wants life to survive. He's because what they keep this is kind of clever what they do in this movie. They keep tying everything back to the aliens that they know are still out there, and how there's kind of a need for humanity to gain strength and to survive, and that's why Tony starts working with Ultron in the first place, because he is afraid that the aliens are going to come back and leave everyone killed, because, okay, you've got 5 superheroes against a whole space race, and Scarlet Witch, because she's one of our new characters, gets in his head and actually encourages that fear. So okay, that's why he builds Ultron in the first place. And also, yeah, number 2 thing it doesn't do wrong, it just the previews almost leave you to assume that what happens here is that Tony creates Ultron, just like he builds him and then he sends him out to do his work, and then he doesn't realize that, oh, oops, he just created humanity's greatest enemy, and just, Tony, again. But, okay, no, Tony does not necessarily screw anything. Well, I mean, obviously, he still is responsible technically for Ultron being there, but, no, he never approved Ultron. He never tried to send him out. He didn't even think that he'd finished him yet. It was quickly becoming a failed experiment, but then while they're gone, it's, just some kind of fluke of nature happens or whatnot. Ultron gains because I guess they're messing with things they don't understand. Ultron gains consciousness just on his own, and he becomes Jarvis, Tony's right-hand man computer, tells him that he's malfunctioning, but Jarvis, he's already coming into his own, already gaining consciousness and gaining his own perception of what he's supposed to do. So it's the Frankenstein's monster has accidentally been brought to life is what it plays as. So okay, I like that. And then again, his goal, what he's thinking is not just, okay, there needs to be peace. I need to kill everybody because if there's nobody left to fight, then there's peace. That's not it at all. He wants Earth to survive, and he also knows about the aliens coming and such. So okay, he thinks that unless humanity evolves, and it will die, so he's upping the playing field. He's making it harder to survive in this world. He's changing that. I mean, it's kind of vague, his plan, don't get me wrong, but yeah, so humanity, he's going to create his race of metal beings, and humanity has to either adapt to survive or die. And then it turns out that he later on, it turns out that he was never really expecting anyone to survive. He just thought that at the end of his plan, there would just be a bunch of metal men like him left. But, okay, so it's kind of vague, but it is at least not totally stupid, just like he wants to kill everybody just because people deserve to die, or so it's not something pointless like that. So, okay, points there. And now as far as how well the movie holds up on its own, like I said, through the first 1/2, 2/3 even, it's all you can do to keep up. Just to keep, well, I mean, you can understand what's going on, but as I should say, it's all you can do to care about who's winning. You can't really get behind how they're pulling stuff off so much. I mean, just barely the surface level tension in that sense. So, okay, it's just like I don't want to call this a turn your brain off movie because there's actually a lot of thoughtful aspects to it, but as far as what you get excited over, it doesn't want you to have to digest apart from the evolution thing, it doesn't want you to have to digest too many ideas and then feel more excited because of the implications there. Just like, yeah, what you see, who is currently down, who is currently up. That's pretty much all you can do to care about. So all right. So I mean, it's interesting. It's kind of exciting, and it's fun in a lot of points, but I mean, not nearly as much as the first one. And then in the last third or so, they bring in a new Avenger, is it not Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, who, and by the way, Quicksilver, he's fine, he's fun in his own way in this movie, but he does not touch Days of Future Past Quicksilver. There will not be any comparison. I mean, if, I don't know, maybe some people, there will be like a group of, yeah, rebellious supporters of Avengers Quicksilver just because they like contradicting things, but if that happens, they will get stomped. Nobody would realistically side with this Quicksilver over the Days of Future Past guy, even though their parts are not, if anything, this Quicksilver has a bigger part, but even so, doesn't stand a chance. So, alright. But yeah, not them though. There's a new Avenger that comes in the last third or so, and his introduction is pretty awesome, and he is pretty awesome, and what he represents and the implications he brings to the table, they're also pretty awesome, and there is one just downright jaw-dropping moment with him that I won't spoil, although most of you probably already know what it is by now. I mean, just like, the minute it happened in the theater, though, you could hear everybody just go quiet. It's like, watching, and I was like, it is that cool. So, alright, so when he comes in, it gets more interesting, and then you start to get behind, well, him first of all, but for whatever reason, it feels like you have a little more time with everyone to get behind everyone now, so, alright, yeah, just it starts to get a little better just all the way around. It gets more interesting. The final fight, I mean, a lot of people are comparing it to the first movie, except for the fact that it also involves getting civilians to safety. Some people liked that, some people appreciate it as just sort of a screw you to Man of Steel, and I like that being acknowledged at least once in a while, because I mean, that should be important too, so okay, I'm not, like, ecstatic over it, but I like it, so, but as far as comparing it to the first one, it's, I guess, yes and no. It's, I mean, it's widespread carnage, and the Avengers have to take it on, just mow down a bunch of robots, and I guess in that sense it's similar, but just even the subtle, like, even the difference in the setup, I feel like you won't get quite the same emotions. It has, like, a different enough sort of flavor to it, like, yeah, just, well, for one, instead of, like, the big bad in the first movie is Loki, and once the main invasion happens, like, he tries to help out, but yeah, he's sort of on the peripherals for most of it, and I mean, once he and Thor have their fight, that he pretty much stops really making much of a difference, and then, meanwhile here, yeah, Ultron and his, who gets to have the, well, I mean, they're technically all the robots are Ultron, but, okay, complicated. He is the main focus here, it all comes back to him, so, that's something about it that's a little different, and actually Joss Whedon, he still keeps in mind that just as far as the action goes, yeah, who we want to see take on who. I mean, everybody shows the Hulkbuster armor versus the Hulk in the trailer, but not even that. We also get Thor versus Ultron, like the big final fight. Everyone's trying to take on these robots, but Ultron notices that Thor in particular is pretty effective here because he's Thor, he's one of the most powerful teammates, and he's not off, like, behind the scenes, I get, well, I don't know if Tony was behind the scene, shoot, I digress. I mean, he's, at the moment, pretty much among the most out in the open, so yeah, he notices Thor specifically, so he decides he's gonna go pick him off and have a big mano-a-mano with him, and, you know, see if he can, discourage him, so, like, crush Thor's spirit and all that, so, alright, just, yeah, little touches like that, pretty cool, although the fact that, okay, I will, at least spoil this, just because I want to note that, yeah, the fact that Thor is pretty much just not a match for Ultron almost makes you wonder who would be, kind of makes you want to see somebody step in, and, like, it almost makes you want the Hulk to come by and show Ultron that wall that he can never climb, but it doesn't exactly happen. But alright, so yeah, pretty much Thor versus Ultron is as grand scale a SmackDown as it gets. But okay, other than that, I guess there's not too much more to say. I mean, well, like I mean, I guess I could talk about a bunch of little moments, but I mean, it all goes by so fast, and I mean, if you see this movie, you will have, I guess, favorite moments, but you will be able to remember it, but not in the sense that just you'll have the big money shots replaying in your head the whole time after. You'll kind of have to, because there's just so many parts to it, you'll kind of have to think back like, okay, then this happened, and then it led to that, and then it led to that, and yeah, you'll have to sort of fish them out amidst the chaos. Well, not necessarily the chaos, because I mean, again, it's not a sloppy movie necessarily. It is very well done for what it is. Well, I mean, I don't think that the bad part is the execution. I think that it's just the concept of how to fit it all together, just like all this stuff. Make sure it doesn't have too long a runtime by rushing it as much as you can. Just like I said, action goes by like more like Fast and Furious than like the first Avengers, and yeah, story much the same way. It's eaten through it. Well, you focus on a lot of different things and in what feels like a short amount of time. So, all right, yeah, I guess that's pretty much all I have to say. Who else is in it? War Machine is in this movie. We get side characters again. We even get Dr. Selvig from the Thor movies, but yeah, Falcon is in it too, but he never gets to help out in his Falcon armor, so yeah, a little bit of a disappointment there, although, you know, based on the Winter Soldier, I'm not sure he would have come across as all that powerful, so yeah, take that for what it's worth. But alright, that's pretty much all I got, so alright, hope you're having a good week, and I'll talk to you later.